Hey guys, welcome back to my channel. So today's video is going to be my Flawless Foundation step-by-step tutorial. This is what I do every day, but I find that I get a really flawless skin look when I do this, so I thought I would share it with you guys and give you some more tips and tricks on how to achieve it. So that's going to be this video. I hope you like it. If you do, please be sure to give it a thumbs up and don't forget to subscribe before you leave. And without further ado, let's jump into this video. So the very first step, as I talked about in one of my other videos, is to make sure that you wash your face and moisturize before you put on your makeup. That way you don't have any dirt or oil left over that can make your makeup separate. And the second step is to prime. So today I'm going to be using the Kane & Austin mattifying primer. And you want to find a primer that suits your skin type. I have more of oily, acne-prone skin, so I go for a more mattifying, pore-filling primer. And this one has sunscreen in it, SPF 50, so it's really good if you're going outside and in the sun all day. If you have more dry skin or even more mature skin, I feel like a hydrating, moisturizing primer is what you want to go for. So pick a primer that suits you, and that will be perfect for making your makeup and your foundation stay on all day. So as I said, I'm going to be using this one today. I'm still testing this one out. So this is what this primer looks like. It has a little bit of a tint to it. And I think it's supposed to have like a cooling effect as well. I don't notice that. So I'm just gonna focus this on the areas where I'm most oily, which is gonna be on my cheeks, my nose, under my chin especially. I do have acne there, and on my forehead. So that's where I try to focus most of the primer. Okay, so after you apply your primer, next is foundation. And similar to primers, you want to find a foundation that works well for your skin. So a foundation can also have the same type of properties that a primer has, whether it's more of a matte foundation for more oily skin or a more hydrating foundation for dry skin. I'll be using a foundation that I talked about in my favorites video, and it is the Maybelline Matte and Poreless Fit Me foundation, and I am in the shade 120 Classic Ivory. I talked all about this foundation in my favorites video, so I'm not gonna go into that much detail about it, but I do like this foundation because I have oily skin, so it makes sure that my skin is not looking like really oily throughout the day. At first I did was pour it out onto my finger and then dab it on my cheek, and then I'm going to be using a flat kabuki buffing brush to buff it out. And what I do is I press the product into my skin. I don't rub it. I like to press it to make sure that I'm getting it nice and even and I'm not leaving any streaks when I do this. Sometimes I do my whole face and then I buff it out, but when you do sections, it makes sure that the product doesn't dry before you buff it out, so that way it buffs out more easily and more evenly. This is a more medium coverage foundation, so you can build it up. But another tip I have, that if you want your foundation to look flawless, you want to use as least amount of product as you can, and that way it doesn't look cakey. So I buffed this one out. As you can see, you can still notice all my freckles and other marks coming through, but that's okay. I don't really mind that much. If you want more coverage, you can go over that. or you can add concealer. I'm gonna do this other side now. Same thing, I'm just going to press it in and just move the product around, not moving it, but pressing it. And I like a more flat kabuki brush because I feel like it blends easier for me. They do have rounded ones, but I prefer the flat. And you can also do this with a sponge. I really like a sponge. I just tested the e.l.f. makeup one and I really like that one. So I'm just gonna do my chin, my nose, a little bit on my neck to blend out this color. So again, pressing the product in and moving it as we go. And you can move that product on to the areas that you want more coverage. So I move it a little bit over here, bring it down. You always want to make sure to move your foundation down to your neck and a little bit on your ears, so that way it all looks even and you're not two different colors. So like whatever's left, just blend it down on your neck and under your jaw. You can even do a little bit on your ears if you're gonna be wearing your hair up. Yeah, this foundation doesn't have a pump, so I'm having to like pour it on my fingers and then dab it. But if you have one with a pump, you can pump the foundation on the back of your hand and then dab the brush on it and then blend it out. Or you can put it directly on your brush. Either way works. Another tip would be to have a clean foundation brush, so that way no other foundation is going to be mixed in, but mine is not clean. Okay, so foundation is on. It does cling to some more of my dry patches. Like sometimes I'll have a little bit of dryness here and it will cling to that. So that's why I said to get a foundation that works with your skin. Next is concealer. So, I mean, you can use any concealer that you like. Today I'm gonna be using the e.l.f. Camo Concealer. I've talked about this in all of my other videos. I like a more full coverage concealer, and I definitely stay away from more hydrating concealers because I'm oily, so that would not work. So I'm going to just dab a little bit of this underneath my eye because I do have some dark circles. And I try to pick a concealer that's pretty light compared to like my natural skin color, so that way it has like a brightening effect and it makes your makeup look more natural. Instead of looking like all one color and you look kind of flat, this will definitely enhance your base makeup. So I'm going to dot this right there. I don't do like any triangles or anything. I just do a little bit of it and then I blend it out. I'm using this like angled base brush from Real Techniques. I talked about this in my brush video, but you can also use a sponge. Either way. So I'm just going to kind of do the same thing I do with my foundation and just press the product in, but also kind of blending it, kind of like pushing and like pulling just barely to blend it out. And you can see that concealer took no time to blend. But with that concealer, as I've said before, it dries really fast, so that's why I like to do one at a time. If I do like dot the concealer on both sides and I do one side first, the other side, the concealer will have already started drying, so blending it is a lot more difficult. And that's just this particular concealer. There are some that don't do that, like the Tarte Shade Tape. You can put it anywhere and it will not start to settle until you blend it out. So we got this eye done. You can see how it definitely made my eyes look a lot brighter and more awake, and that's what I'm going for. So now I'm just going to do the same thing to this side. Okay, now I'm gonna do like the center part of my face. I do one dot on my chin, a little bit on the bridge of my nose, and then one right on my forehead, kind of in between my brows. So it has that same brightening effect. So just a little bit on the chin. I think this lighter concealer trick really made like my makeup start to look a lot more natural, because when I used a concealer that was like the same color, it kind of looked flat and you look very lifeless. So having a concealer that's one shade lighter than your foundation really makes a huge difference. Just do a little bit on my nose because this is such a full coverage concealer. I don't even need that much. You can see it's kind of like not wanting to blend on my forehead because I let it sit there a little bit longer. So after everything's blended, you can kind of like go back into your foundation brush with no product and just kind of blend out all of like the edges just to make sure nothing is settling too much. And the next thing we're gonna do is face powder. Now you can use any one that you love, pressed or loose. Today I'm gonna be using the Laura Mercier loose setting powder. And there are several ways that you can apply your face powder. There's like just the typical way of just pressing into the skin, or you can bake. And I used to bake a lot, and baking is where you have a wet sponge and you press it into the powder and you then press it on your face, like pretty thick coat of it. And you can use a pressed powder, but really want to use a loose powder. And you let it sit. Wherever you applied concealer, you let it sit there. And you could do like your brows or your eyes while it's sitting there, and then you dust it away. And what it does is it really makes your concealer and your foundation kind of look a lot more flawless, and I think it makes your concealer stay on a lot longer as well. For like an everyday, I just press my powder in. Lately, I would go through phases, and now I just kind of want it. I just don't have the time to bake, so I just like to press the powder into my skin. And if you have more oily skin, you want to do your whole face. But if you have dry skin, putting a face powder on might make your makeup look a lot more like cakey and dry. So if you want to just set wherever you put concealer, you can definitely do that and not do the rest of your face. But I have to, otherwise I will look oily within like 15 minutes. So I just dump the powder into the lid and then kind of swirl my brush and then press the powder everywhere. And I also press when I do everything with my face, I always press. If I'm doing like a bronzer, I obviously just blend it out. Okay, so you can kind of feel like your face if it feels dry. There's no foundation or concealer that you haven't set, so you're good to go. You can definitely move on to like the rest of your face or your eyes or your brows or whatever. I normally do my bronzer and then I do my brows, but letting everything kind of set on your face to sink in will help making the makeup look more blended and more flawless, and everything kind of sinks in together if you just let it sit there. I'm going to do the rest of my face and then I will come back and close this video. Okay, I'm back. I just finished the rest of my makeup. I used the Smashbox Step by Step contour palette to contour and bronze. I mainly used this middle shade. For blush, I used this Tarte Iron Cheek palette, and I used the blush in here and the highlight, but I also used this e.l.f. baked highlight that I used in my e.l.f. video. So I used those on my face, and then for mascara, I'm using the Voluminous Lash Paradise mascara. Still not so sure about this one, but I'm trying to use it. And then for brows, I'm using my same brow products that I've been using in all my other videos. So that's what's on my face today. I don't have a lip product on, just Carmex. So I noticed, like, I think it's the primer because I'm still kind of testing this primer out, but that my forehead, like the foundation is kind of breaking up here, and it might be because the primer is old. But if I had to change the primer, I would still do all these steps and the foundation would look a lot better than it does up here. But yeah, I highly recommend when you're doing your makeup to get products that suit your skin, because that's gonna make the biggest difference when you apply everything. And doing these steps and these little tricks, hopefully that helps you in your makeup routine. And yeah, so that completes this video. I hope you guys liked it. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you next time. Bye.